The modern contemplative practices started with it's different people, but there were three Trappist monks named Thomas Keating, William Menninger, and Basil Pennington. And they started it. And there's even a video that you can still see online of the three of them talking about how they started it and what influenced and guided them. They were influenced by Thomas Merton, who was a Roman Catholic monk, and they were influenced by a book called The Cloud of Unknowing. And they were influenced and used meditation techniques from Buddhism and Hinduism. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to talk about all of that. Now I think they started it in the 1970s, maybe the late 70s. And so for a while, of course, a lot of people didn't know about it because it was a new thing. And they were Roman Catholic monks. So really the first people to know about it were in the Roman Catholic Church. And I think it mainly stayed in there until the 1990s. And they began to, I guess, people outside the Roman Catholic Church got interested and began to talk about it or invite them to speak or promote books. Basil Pennington and Thomas Keating both wrote books. And by the way, I've read books by Thomas Keating and Basil Pennington. So I have read the material. And then it just kind of gradually gained steam. And then what happened is people with influence on the evangelical church, like Dallas Willard and Richard Foster, introduced contemplative prayer to the evangelical church without using that term. And one of the ways they did this was through a DVD called Be Still. And the Be Still DVD, I think, came out around 2005, around there. And I watched it. A friend of mine transcribed it for me. And so I have the actual script. And I use that to write my article. So there's an article on my website called the Be Still DVD. And Richard Foster and Dallas Willard put that out. Other people on there were a professor at a Baptist seminary named Calvin Miller. And people will be interested to know that Beth Moore and Priscilla Shirer were on there. And I was a little shocked at Beth Moore being on there because somehow it didn't seem like the kind of thing she would be into. Mm-hmm. But she is. Priscilla Shirer at the time, I didn't really know much about her. She wasn't as well known then as she is now. I knew she was Tony Evans' daughter. That was pretty much it. I don't know if she had written a lot of Bible studies then yet or not. I think that came later. So of course now she's much more well known. And she does promote this, and there's other ways she's connected to it that I saw on her website. So this made it seem, when people see, well, Beth Moore is on there and a professor at a Baptist seminary is on there. Well, then, and Richard Foster's book, Celebration of Discipline, was very popular. And Dallas Willard was very highly respected across the board and by Baptists and non-Baptists in the evangelical church. So they see all those names of people who have some kind of standing and respect, and they think this is okay. Now, my article on the Be Still DVD critiques it, of course, and points out all the problems that I shouldn't say all the problems. I don't have time to write about all the problems I see sometimes to limit myself. So I pointed out what I saw as the major issues on there. So still at that time, I don't think it was huge, but there was also a book that came out around then, maybe a little bit before that, called Listening Prayer by Leanne Payne. And that was having an influence. And so here and there, different people were kind of picking up on this contemplative prayer, listening prayer kind of thing. And it just sort of spread, through different people promoting it or reading the books or teaching it in a Sunday school class or a small group or whatever. That's just how these things spread. Mm-hmm. And it got more and more popular. I was meanwhile getting, I think starting around 2010 or 2011, I was getting emails from people who were coming across this in their church. And they either wanted to know, what is this? Why haven't I heard of this before?
Mhm.
Or, I don't have a good feeling about this. Can you tell me what you think? Or, I really don't like this. What should I say to my pastor?
Right.
So I was getting emails from people from all over, all kinds of churches, but all, fairly conservative, theological conservative churches were writing me. And so I was trying to address it with them. Now, I had written my article on contemplative prayer. I think I wrote it in 2005 or 2006. And so I do have an article on my website. And that's the article I usually send people when they say, I don't really understand it. What is it? Or what's the history? I have the history in there about these 3 monks and how they started this movement. And so I give people a link to that article, and that's what people should read for more detail.